Hi friends, Travis here. If you're new to this channel, I want to welcome you. And of course, if you've been here before, welcome back. If at any point you like what you see, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, all those things. And yeah, in today's video, we're going to talk about my likes, my dislikes, and my final thoughts for our recent MSC Meraviglia cruise where we were in Yacht Club and did all the things and saw all the things and really had a great time. But yeah, I was with Carlos, I was with my sister Maggie, I was with my brother-in-law Ian. That's the most I've ever had on a cruise, was 4 of us together. And it did, change things as far as, the vibe and the overall activities and whatever that we did. But it was very, very fun. I really enjoyed that cruise. But yeah, without any further delay, let's go ahead and move right on into the video. So if you've never seen this type of video on my channel before, basically I'm going to start with the dislikes and then I'll move into the likes and then I'll close out with some final thoughts. That format seems to work really well and I like that we can end on a more positive note. So the disclaimer is that for the first, third of this video, close to half of this video is going to be me saying negative things. I promise the positive is coming later. But these were just the dislikes that we came up with collectively as a group, and I'm speaking on behalf of the 4 of us. Unfortunately, Mag and Ian are still in El Paso, and Carlos and I are in San Antonio, but Carlos is traveling for work right now, so yeah, I'm here by myself to do this video, but I've consulted them. We've come up with a list of 3 likes and 3 dislikes, and then I'll just give my final thoughts at the end, and we'll, go from there. But yeah, the first dislike I want to talk about is, I'll just use the word disorganized. And this applies to a couple of different things. First and foremost, going into the theater, the couple of times that we went in there was just a hot mess. If you're not in Yacht Club, you do have to pre-register before you get there so that you can make sure that it doesn't fill up and, you actually have a seat. Yacht Club has a designated area. And so we didn't have to do that, which was nice, but our area was not in the best spot in the room. It was actually kind of in the back corner, which I didn't really like. But even getting through there, it was I don't know if they should have had a designated Yacht Club line or if they should have had more people letting people in. I don't know. It took forever to get in. There was confusion. Yeah, so that was that we got there 30 minutes early, and then we had to start the show 10 minutes late because people were still coming in trying to, find seats, and it was chaos, and the cruise director was kind of being mean about it. I guess that's not really fair to say, but he was on the mic, come on, hurry up, find a seat, trying to rush people, and it just became a really disorganized situation. Also in Yacht Club, one of the perks is that you get a butler that takes you around everywhere, and that includes getting off the ship. So anytime we went to a gangway, it was nice to have that, but a couple of times we got there and they weren't ready for us, or we were at the wrong gangway, or they were confused as to who we are and why we were there. One time there was a whole group of us, 10 of us from Yacht Club, and 2 of the officers said, no, you guys need to leave. You were not ready for people to get off yet. And then 2 of the officers were saying, no, stay. And then one got kind of huffy with our butler and was like, why are you here? And he just was trying to explain that they'd been called. And they were like, by who? It was just all disorganized chaos. So yeah, those were the couple of things that I felt were kind of a hot mess. That could have easily been not an issue, but there was a lack of communication. I understand there was some leadership changes recently, so maybe they were still trying to get used to each other, etc. But yeah, we definitely experienced that on this cruise a couple of times, and it made things kind of frustrating for us that we paid all this money for Yacht Club only to have it be a little bit glitchy, right? Our second dislike is that Yacht Club was amazing, we loved it, but we felt isolated at times. The ship within a ship concept is super cool. It does make it so that you never even have to leave the Yacht Club area if you don't want to. Obviously, going down to the theater and getting off the ship and stuff, you have to leave that area. But for the most part, when you're on board, you can stay in Yacht Club and never leave. And you're essentially your own ship. And that's cool. The problem with that was that it was so much so that we almost felt like we had to choose. So if we left Yacht Club, we were like, well, why did we spend all this money to be in Yacht Club if we're not going to be in there? But then, when we stayed in Yacht Club, we're like, oh, we're missing out on all this stuff that's happening on board the main part of the ship. And so that's kind of if you're considering Yacht Club, just be aware that you're probably going to feel detached, feel isolated, feel like you have to make certain choices. And it's kind of hard to explain, but we all had a similar version of that on our list of, dislikes. And that's why it became one of the main bullet points, is that we just wish there was kind of like an in-between. I guess that would maybe be Aria, but then that's kind of spa focused. And so I don't know. It's nice to have your own designated area and your lounges and your own restaurant and all that stuff, but then you may as well be on your own ship, because you don't need the rest of, MSC Meraviglia or whatever ship you're on, because you're just so separated from that. So yeah, kind of a weird, I guess, complaint. But yeah, we felt like we had to choose between Yacht Club and Gen Pop, and that it wasn't very easy for us to experience both. And then the last bullet point I want to talk about for this was the entertainment was very, not only not great, but also, going back to the first bullet point, it was disorganized. So for example, we wanted to do the sail away party the first night, and we went up to the main pool deck, which is where the app told us to go, but then it had actually been moved to like the Horizon pool bar area in the back. That was kind of weird to us, because that's an adult only area, but I guess kids were allowed back there for that at that point. And I don't know, it just, but by the time we even realized that that's where it was happening, it was already over, so we didn't even get to do sail away, and we're just like kind of looking around the pool deck like, what the heck? And that happened with one of the other sail away parties. I think when we were leaving Nassau or something, there was in the schedule a sail away party, and when we went up there, no one was there. And so we were like, what the heck? I know the cruise director had just taken over like one sailing before us, so he was probably still trying to get the feel for things and, whatever, get back in the groove. But it was very obvious as far as entertainment goes that things were not where they supposed to be, not how they were supposed to be. During the day, especially, we noticed that there were a lot of gaps in the schedules, even on sea days, which isn't something I've ever experienced with the Meraviglia before. I've been on this ship multiple times. And even back in September of 2001, right after the restart, when there were only 700 of us on board, there was more than enough activities and things for us to do throughout the day, and we never felt bored or anything like that. But yeah, so entertainment, while it wasn't horrible, it could have been better, and we were pretty disappointed with that overall. Especially my sister compared it to when we were on the Divina, and she felt like there was too much stuff to do on the Divina. And so she's like, where's the middle ground on this? Because it seems to be either all or nothing. But yeah. All right, enough of that negative Nancy stuff. Let's talk about what we did like, because there was tons of that. This was one of my favorite cruises ever. I love the idea of going with family and things like that. And there'll be more of that, obviously, in the future. But yeah, so we've compiled a list of 3 likes. The first one being that there was great food in Yacht Club. MSC kind of has a reputation of not having the best food, and I do agree to some extent that they could definitely improve in that area. I don't think the quality is a problem. Definitely like the variety could be better, and they need more fast food and quick service type stuff. But in Yacht Club, the food quality was through the roof. Some of the best food I've ever had on a cruise ship and in my life in general. Everything from our little buffet out on the outdoor deck to the snacks that were served in the top sail lounge. And of course, the main dining room for us was very upscale, very elegant, had lots of great choices, and they definitely went out of their way to make sure that that food was top-notch, seasoned, flavored good, and everybody in Yacht Club was raving about how good the food was, and so I would absolutely have to agree that that was some of the best food I've ever had at sea. The second one is that we got excellent service in Yacht Club. Obviously, we paid, quite a bit of money to get excellent service, but they did not disappoint. Having access to a 24-hour butler service, the ability to just ask and you shall receive pretty much anything that you want. Bar service, we never waited. They didn't even check our cards. They just served you drinks. They already knew who you were at once, after a day or two. Everybody called you by name. It was a very, very good experience in there. The service was top notch. Definitely multiple steps up from service that I've experienced in Gen Pop on MSC. Gen Pop being general population. They use that term. I didn't make that up. But yeah, so you can definitely tell that they go above and beyond in Yacht Club to make sure that you're getting your money's worth as far as service goes. And it spoiled us, to be honest. I was on Meraviglia since then, and I definitely noticed that I wasn't getting as much immediate direct attention as I had been in Yacht Club, and I missed it deeply for that reason alone. And then the last bullet point is that we had a really good itinerary. We got to go to ports we'd never been to before, one of them being Belize. Mag and Ian had never been to Cozumel, and of course I love Ocean Key. And where was the other one? Nassau. And, you know, Mag did like the charm thing, and so she got to get off in ports and look for free charms, and they explored and did all that stuff. Carlos and I did our own thing at a lot of the ports. We all got together in Belize and did an excursion and hung out. Yeah, so we had a good time. The sea days in between were kind of perfectly spaced out, and so we never felt like we were, you know, like on some sailings I've had back-to-back ports, and it's exhausting. It's always nice to have a sea day in between, you know, ports and stuff. And yeah, so the way the sailing was laid out, the way the itinerary was laid out, the ports that we went to we really, really loved. And it made for a good overall experience for us on this sailing. For final thoughts, I'll just say that, because I know people might be watching this video to try and decide if Yacht Club is worth it for them. If you can get a good deal on Yacht Club, do it. But it's not something that I would pay exponentially more for, especially if you're going to be in an inside suite like we were. There's not much about it that's upgraded above like a standard interior room. They do have better pillows. They do have better mattresses. There are some amenities in the room that you don't get in Gen Pop. But overall, the room was not like anything special. We didn't have a balcony, none of that stuff. You can pay for a balcony in Gen Pop that, you know, even like an extended balcony or, you know, whatever, and still spend less than Yacht Club. So if you care about the room and you're going to be in Yacht Club, you're going to want to go for a balcony suite or whatever. But that is, in my experience, way more expensive, and I wouldn't pay that much more for Yacht Club, especially since, like I said, we did feel kind of isolated and stuff at times. But if a deal pops up, we will be in Yacht Club again. Carlos and I don't mind having an inside cabin, so I guarantee that we'll be in an inside cabin next time we're in Yacht Club. I wouldn't pay more than like maybe 1.5 times what you would pay all in with a balcony cabin in Gen Pop. So if it's more expensive than that, probably not worth it. But, you know, everybody's different. Like, I don't mind mixing and mingling with people. Some people can't stand the crowds and the fighting for the loungers and all that stuff. And you're not going to have to do that in Yacht Club. So, you know, things to consider. If you're celebrating something special, it might be worth it. If you're going with kind of a larger group and could share the cost of a suite, maybe it would be worth it. And then, of course, if you're a couple and don't mind an interior room, it might also be worth it. So, yeah, pros and cons, definitely back and forth. But yeah, so we loved it overall. Good experience. I'll do Yacht Club again, I promise. It won't be an every time I sail thing at all. You know, it's just going to be when that works out in our favor and we can get a good enough deal on it. But what else? I guess that's it. Let me know if you found this video helpful, or if you didn't find it helpful. Leave me a mean comment below. I don't know. Anyway, I'm actually collecting mean comments for a future video. I've gotten a few recently that have been kind of hilarious. So I'll be making a Travis Reads Mean Comments video at some point in the near future, hopefully. But otherwise, if you want to leave me a nice comment or reply to something that I've said here, or if you have questions or concerns or anything, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I want to thank you all so much for traveling with me. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all those fun things. We'll talk soon, and y'all have a good night.